Have you ever had one of those days where you just can't? Like the gym is in your calendar, the shoes are by the door, but yet you still somehow end up scrolling TikTok in your hoodie on the couch, like you've just given up on life. I think we've all been there. And look, I haven't just had days when I felt like that. I've had years where I've trained so inconsistently or not at all that I lost a lot of my strength. It took a big hit on my confidence and it was really detrimental to my mental health. It wasn't because I didn't want it enough, it wasn't that I didn't care, but because I couldn't shake that heavy, flat feeling, the one where everything just feels a little bit too hard. And I kept waiting for that feeling to go away. I even found myself driving to the gym only to turn around as I was halfway there because I just lost motivation. I was always waiting to wake up one day as that person that just shows up no matter what. That girl that's always motivated somehow. I think I used to be that person at one point back in the day when I was in my young 20s, really invested in my training at the time. But truth be told, as the years have gone by, life's changed. Life has more responsibilities. There are more things on the agenda now, creating that sense of exhaustion. And the truth is that to get going and stay consistent with things that are inherently uncomfortable, you can't rely on motivation. So if you, like me, have been stuck in that cycle of wanting to get started again, waiting for the perfect conditions to start training or do the thing that you want to do, but you keep falling short, then let's talk about it. We've all been sold this idea that if we could just stay motivated enough, everything would work out. If we could just stay disciplined enough, everything will work out. But here's the truth. Motivation is fleeting. It's a mood. Feelings and thoughts come and go and are typically very unreliable. If we're talking willpower, it can, I suppose, be used for very short periods of time. What if we flipped it and thought of long-term consistency as something that comes from structure, so that we can show up and do the hard things even when it's hard? Most people think that they lack motivation, that they're lazy, that there's something wrong with them, that they just can't. But really, they haven't identified their consistency bottleneck. What I mean by this is those barriers that stops you from being consistent. Get curious about the pattern of where things break down for you specifically, so that you can solve the problem instead of beating yourself up. There's a reason you're not consistent. When you're intending to do something, but you end up consistently not doing it, where's the pattern? Is it when life gets stressful or work gets busy? Is it when you have PMS or you're on your period? Is it when your sleep is really bad? Is it when you haven't set intentions the night before? Is it when you don't feel comfortable in any of your gym clothes? Or is it when you have gym anxiety, or you're training alone, or when you're training with people that you don't like? Is it that you feel like your training isn't working, so you stop, or you think of reasons why you shouldn't be doing it? Are you overthinking your technique and being really worried about what to do when you get to your session? Start by identifying all of these things that are keeping you from showing up. These are problems that you can solve and skills that you can work on, not your lack of discipline or your lack of motivation. Step number 2 is, after you've identified your unique barriers to being consistent, is to start building systems around how to solve them. Once you know your drop-off point, you build systems around that. Is it that your nutrition is off the rails? Maybe you need to look at your calendar and say, hey, it looks like on Sunday is when I'll be buying groceries. And then putting in an automatic time slot where that thing gets done, so that you're set up for the following week and you don't have to worry about it. I know that one of my biggest barriers of staying consistent is mental exhaustion, especially when it comes to heavy strength training. I find that it's quite mentally challenging. It can be also very difficult to rev up and get into the mode of training when you're drained, when you're absolutely drained of all mental, emotional, human resources that you have. So I picked up running and I started playing tennis, because when those weeks came around where I was having PMS or I was extremely busy at work, I found that I was deep into projects that I just couldn't seem to finish on time, and the gym was that thing that kept falling off, I was able to just put on my shoes and go for a run. That required zero mental effort and made sure that I was always getting exercise in, even though I was mentally tired. Tennis is the most fun thing I've ever done, and it always feels like a treat. It's a wonderful way to just disconnect, shuts down all my thoughts. So once again, it's another way to get exercise into my week without having to feel like I need to be mentally there to do it. Now, here's the key. I'm not saying stop strength training and do something else because that thing was too hard. No, I'm still strength training. I still have strength training goals that are really, really important to me. But the point is that maybe sometimes we need to lower our expectations and not put all of our eggs in one basket. Back when I used to be a top-level athlete competing at Worlds, etc., COVID hit and I lost all my motivation. I actually made a video about it 5 years ago. I felt like it was the only valid form of training. Plus, I didn't know how to run. I didn't know how to play tennis. I didn't know any of those things. I just thought strength training is where it needs to be at. So if I'm not doing that, I'm not doing anything. And I ended up doing nothing. And that was not good. That's not the way to build momentum. That's not the way to get back into it. Doing just a little bit of something, going for a walk, stretching in your bedroom, finding a supplementary form of exercise that you enjoy, maybe yoga, maybe dancing, maybe swimming, maybe something just easy for your mind, will help you stay moving, which in turn will help you feel more good about going to do the hard thing, which for me is powerlifting, competing in powerlifting, very challenging. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Exercise is one of the most beneficial things that we can do for our bodies and our mind, and skipping it all together because we have super high expectations of what we should be doing is not the move. So find something that is easier for you, entry level, and go for that. And this leads me into my second point, which is tie your goals to your identity, not the outcomes. The people who stay consistent aren't always more motivated than you. They're not better than you. Let's make that clear. They just have better systems. They remove friction, they make fewer daily decisions, and their training or their social media or their relationship goals, whatever it might be, are part of who they are. Not just something they do when they feel like it, but it's part of their identity because they have taught themselves how to think in a way that makes it so. Making YouTube videos is hard. I'm finding it hard to show up for making YouTube videos, sitting hours on end with the editing process, coming up with things to talk about, feeling confident enough to talk on the camera. These are all very challenging things. But nowhere in this process is my goal to get X amount of views, X amount of subscribers. Absolutely not. The reason why I'm doing it is because I see myself as someone who loves to share her story, who loves to share advice on the things that I know things about. Advice on things that matter to me. I see myself as a content creator, which is why creating these videos is something that I've decided to make a part of my life. I introduce myself as content creator. I have my office set up for content creation. As an athlete who's been training powerlifting for a long time, I don't actually hit that many PRs anymore. So going to the gym chasing PRs for me at this point would be sad and draining and very disappointing. What I do see myself as is someone who lifts, someone who is strong, someone who is part of the lifting community in Australia. And training is not about achieving a certain outcome. Training is something I do to have time with myself, to meet people that I love seeing on a weekly basis, to feel good in my body as I move more, to experience the challenges of putting more weight on the bar and being a little bit scared and uncomfortable, but then winning over that feeling and progressing in my personal development. So I encourage you, if you want to achieve something and stay consistent with it, instead of looking at the end of the tunnel, is that death? At the end of the line, the end results, look for how this thing is now part of your life as something that you show up for because it's who you are and it's integrated into all the levels of your identity. Tennis, for example, is something that I don't like a negative mindset or I don't like limiting beliefs in general, but I'm fairly confident that I can say that tennis is not something that I will go pro in and my achievements as a tennis player are probably never going to be recognized, realistically. That's fine. However, achieving a certain result in tennis is not why I'm there. I'm there because I find joy in learning new things. And tennis involves a lot of new skills that I've never practiced before. It also gets me outside. It also puts me in contact with people who are very friendly and very fun to be around. So it suits my lifestyle. It suits who I am. It fits into my own mental picture of who I am as a person. And this leads me into my my third point, which is process over outcome. You want to be measuring the right things. Research shows that people who focus on process-oriented goals over outcome-focused goals generally find greater joy in what they're doing. When you go to the gym, you can choose to focus on the outcome, which is usually, when it comes to powerlifting, achieving a certain weight, lifting a certain weight, putting a weight on the bar, lifting it, putting it down, and saying, I just lifted that weight. However, to get to that point where you're strong enough to do that, there are multiple little tiny process goals that you will have to achieve and focus on first. That would be improving your technique enough, learning how to brace, getting skills in nutrition, eating the right things to grow your muscles, mindset, learning how to negotiate the negative self-talk that comes up, navigating the fear and discomfort and nerves that you will inevitably feel at some point when you're challenged enough. These are skills. These are little goals that come along the way, little obstacles, challenges, skills that you need to work on that I classify, or that can be classified into the category of process goals. And the more you focus on that, the more wins you'll be able to get out, which means that every time you go and work on something, you're achieving all of these little wins, which gives you more positive reinforcement and hacks your brain into thinking you're winning, you're doing good, you're improving. I can see because you've been bracing so much better now after 3 weeks of practice. And if you want to stay consistent, this is exactly the sort of thing you need to be thinking of, rather than, I want to make $1 million. I want to lift 200 kilo deadlift. I want to lose 20 kilos body weight. I want to have 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. Whatever it might be, whatever outcome you're picturing as this glamorous end result, as the reason for why you're showing up consistently. Sometimes it's just so damn far away that you need to dial back in and think, what am I doing in this moment to improve, to get me there? I find those things really, really stimulating. And that helps me stay consistent, motivated, if you will. I could go on and on because I think this topic has a lot of nuance, and I haven't dived into how motivation looks different for people with ADHD or people with going through depression or mental health issues or physical health issues. There's a lot that can impact your overall state of being that will determine how you act and behave. So we're gonna keep diving into this on this YouTube channel as we go. The last thing I want to bring up for this video that I think is so overlooked is the environment that you're in. Your environment is either pulling you forward or dragging you back. If you want to have a better time training, train with someone that you like. Train with people who are stronger than you, that motivate you, that push you. Curate your social feed. Make sure that you're surrounded by images and words that make you believe positive things about yourself. When I first moved to Australia, I made sure that the place where I decided to live was also close to the gym where I wanted to train, because I wanted to reduce that friction. I wanted to be in the environment that made it easy for me to get there. If you're really serious about your strength goals, go join a powerlifting gym. I guarantee you that it will make you feel more inclined to keep showing up consistently. If your shoes are visible, you're more likely to go for a run. If you have access to parks or surroundings where it's nice to run, you're more likely to go for a run. If your gym is on the way home, it's easier to get to the gym after work. In short, we want to create an environment where as much as possible is easy, visible, and convenient. That's what the brain likes. You can have the best mindset in the world, but if your environment is working against you, you're constantly swimming upstream. If your home is cluttered, you'll feel mentally overloaded. If your friends are always bailing on your workouts and making jokes about how disciplined you are, you'll eventually start to internalize that that's not a good thing. But if you're training in a community where this is the norm, strength is the norm, challenging yourself is the norm, this becomes your norm as well. We mirror the expectations of the spaces that we're in. So let's recap. Number 1, identify your drop-off points. Look at those as problems that you can solve and build systems around it. Number 2, tie your goals into your identity. When it's part of who you are, it's much easier to show up. Measure meaningful wins and build a better environment. I actually don't remember if it was 4 or 5 things, but those are the things. Identify drop-off points, tie it into your identity, focus on process over outcome, and put yourself in an environment that supports you in your goals. This is how you go from being motivated sometimes to being consistent for life. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!